Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia, a PWI Presents production. I am so excited to have you all here for what I've dubbed a very special series. You love to see them. You love to hear them talk for their wrestlers that they are managing. And of course, I'm talking about the managers of pro wrestling. Today, I have one of, in my opinion, the foremost wrestlers or wrestling managers rather to ever exist. But Vickie, you definitely had some time in the ring. So maybe that flub wasn't a flub at all.
Good morning, Candace. How are you?
Good morning. I'm so good. Thank you so much, Vickie Guerrero. This is such an honor to meet you. And for me, as someone that's still learning about wrestling as I go along and have spent some time in the industry, I mean, you're one of the first persons that I saw in the ring and immediately gravitated towards your energy, your talent, and just your legacy that you have as a wrestling manager in this business. So thank you so much for what you do. And thank you for being a part of this.
Oh my gosh, you're so kind. Thank you so much. I mean, wrestling is in my blood and it's been part of my family for the last 30 years. So this is the honor to be on your show, and thank you for your kind compliments.
Oh, you're so welcome. So we're starting things off on a really nice note. But
this will come out. It'll eventually come out to please you.
We got to get that excuse me by the end of this. We got to get that for our viewers. But first and foremost, you stated just a few moments ago that wrestling is in your blood, this industry, you've been a part of for so long. So please, to start things off, talk to us about how this all started for you in terms of being a wrestling manager in this business.
Well, I mean, just a funny story. I hated wrestling when I was growing up. I mean, I was a cheerleader. I was a dancer in high school and college, and it wasn't in on my channels of preference, on TV. My brothers growing up would always watch it. So I always saw like the Von Erichs on television. I thought they were gorgeous and cute, and they wrestled barefoot. I'm like, gosh, that's kind of sexy. Like, that's who gravitated to me as, watching wrestling on TV. I didn't sit and watch the matches. Of course, it was just, going by the TV and glancing and, watching my brothers, watch the television, and it was on Saturday mornings. But it wasn't until I met Eddie, and it was a blind date, that he said he was a wrestler. And still, I didn't care about wrestling because he was gorgeous and handsome. And I was just gravitating towards his looks. And as I started dating him, we dated for 4 years. And his family promoted wrestling in El Paso. And wrestling was on 24/7. There was a ring in the backyard. So Eddie's mom and myself would sit at the kitchen table watching Eddie train. And it was just something that I grew to love. And I learned to respect the business, and I learned to appreciate it, how it fed the family, and how it's just, you can take the girl, out of the ring, but you can't take the ring out of the girl. And so that's every day. There's not a moment that goes by I don't think about something about wrestling.
Wow, that's so fascinating. The blind date led to eventually getting to the WWE and being a part of so many intriguing storylines, becoming, a general manager and an interim general manager, having these great wrestlers that you managed, including the late Vickie Guerrero, late Cool, etc. For you, being a manager and learning about the art of managing, how was that specifically for you in terms of the process itself?
Well, my first TV debut was in 2004, 2005 with Eddie, when he was working against Rey Mysterio for the child custody case. And I was just a piece of the story. Eddie brought on myself and our daughters, to be part of the story, just like Rey's family was part of it. And it was a little bit of taste of what it was like to be in front of the camera. And I wasn't scared of the crowd because it was something I was used to performing, in high school and college. But, to be a part of that, it was great. It was fun. I didn't want to mess up because I had to go home with Eddie, and he's a perfectionist. I mean, he was very caring, and he loved his work, and I didn't want to disappoint him because last thing I want to do is go home and be pissed off at something I did wrong. But it always worked out great. And then after Eddie passed away in 2005, WWE called me and said, hey, we know that you did some work for us, with Eddie. We know you can memorize lines. We know that, you were comfortable in front of the camera. how about you just come back and we'll keep editing the storylines for like 2 or 3 months, just to keep his memory going and help some of the wrestlers with their storylines. And then, we'll see what happens from there. And I was not too interested in it because I was a widow. I was raising my 2 girls. Life was really uncertain. But I said, yeah, sure. I'll do it. And 3 months ended up being 10 years later. And still today, I'm still in the wrestling industry. So God has been very gracious to me.
Yes, yes. And now you are in All Elite Wrestling. So everything that you've learned and have done in WWE, now we're seeing it transpire in AEW, and you're managing the likes of Nyla Rose. You have Marina Shafir in the mix. Talk to us about the transition in terms of working at All Elite Wrestling and how you've been able to use everything you've learned as a wrestling manager to help out talents, up and coming talents such as Nyla Rose and Marina.
Yeah, WWE was such a great role for me. I learned so much, being a manager. Coming to AEW, I wish I had more opportunity, to be in a manager role. I'm very grateful for Nyla and Marina. We have a great time. We're the Vicious Vixens. They're fun to work with. I presented ideas, that I would love to, manage more. I mean, this is what I do. I'm a manager. But, I'm gracious for what I'm able to do now. If I was asked to do more, I would love to. I would love to play the Cougar on AEW. There's just so many opportunities that, you can only ask. And if it's granted, then I would be happy about that. But for today, I'm very blessed that I can work with 2 incredible ladies.
Absolutely. What is the relationship like between yourself and Nyla and Marina? How does it, when the cameras are off and you guys are just kind of brainstorming and coming up with, ideas or just hanging out? What's that like for you all?
Well, Marina is such a delight. I mean, she is she's learning the business as we go. And so she's kind of learning on Nyla Rose and myself, like storylines and how to build content and to film backstage. And she's so hungry for the business that it's great to have her attitude and her energy. As far as Nyla Rose, I never know what I'm going to get from her every day. Just like when she's on Twitter, she's a Twitter queen because her tweets are just, I'm either laughing or I'm crying or she's like just come out of left field out of something that's hilarious on Twitter. And it's the same backstage. Her attitude is she's very grateful for where she's at today and she's worked hard and her story is her truth. And I'm really honored to be by her side to represent what she stands for. And we just have a great time. We laugh a lot and we're hungry to get into a storyline that we can show our gifts and talents to the crowd.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Nyla and Marina, and seeing their passion, seeing their growth. It's really something. And to have someone like you on their side, I mean, that's a huge get. It's really huge. Not everyone can get Vickie Guerrero as their manager. So
I know they keep saying, but we have Vickie Guerrero. And I'm like, but I have Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir. I don't try and put myself higher than anyone else because every day is an opportunity and I'm always open to learning more. So when they try and put me over like that, I just kind of have to let's calm down. We're all together as a team. And that's what it should be. We should be teammates and to be treated equally. And that's something that I really try and show the younger, generation because I am older now, but I just try and show that, it's teamwork and it's respecting each other in the ring. And it's about bringing each other's talents and strengths out so we can, combine and make a great faction.
I love that you said that. And having said that, what do you think, Vickie, is one of the biggest misconceptions about wrestling managers and the job and the role and the art of doing this?
I think a lot of people look at a manager as not as important in the match. I think sometimes, of course, in my opinion, in my experience, the wrestling superstar is what everyone is there to see. If I can have a little bit of element on the side to entertain the crowd, to cheat, to interfere, and to highlight the wrestler in that match, that's something that I want the crowd to enjoy. That's something that I want the crowd to remember that even though we're on the floor and we're running around the ring and, going to spots or whatever it is, it's we're a part of that, we're an extension of that entertainment for the crowd. And I'm gravitated towards all managers. If there's a match and there's a manager, I'm watching the manager more than what the match is going on, because I'm learning. And also, if I can critique and give it advice or something, that's what we're there for. We're here to share our knowledge and our experiences and give our input. Whether they want to take it or not is great, but I'm here to levitate everyone else, because when I'm done, then that next generation is going to come up and keep on the tradition.
What's one of the biggest questions that you receive from talent, who's looking to just better themselves in the ring, but also make sure if they have a manager themselves, whether it's yourself or someone else, that the relationship can stay solid and can really be elevated to a different degree?
Yeah, as being a manager, I think that we have quite the incredible responsibility of, making that match more entertaining. Our job is to do promos. Our job is to be at a certain spot at the right time to help that wrestler cheat or whatever the spot may be, for that match. When people say, what can I do to be a manager, is find a good school that's going to give you that camera work and help you find your confidence to be able to do a promo on the fly and to be able to research, who you're working with and know their story and know their weaknesses. And also, there's been times where I've had to help my clients, if the ref says, hey, we just got our time cut by 5 minutes, I have to find a way to cleverly go to every little, every person in that ring, wherever they're at, and say, hey, we got cut 5 minutes. We're kind of an instrument too for everyone, because sometimes the wrestlers are far apart where you can't relay that information. So I take a lot of pride in the matches. Whenever I'm in there, I give 1,000%. And whether it's 3 minutes or a 25-minute match, I want to be a part of it all, because I love the excitement and, what's going on around the ring.
And you stated making sure that you're working hard, especially if you're coming from the independents and doing what you have to do to make sure your game is solid as well as your clients. But what about those that are looking to be in the spot that you're in, Vickie, working for a major promotion? For a wrestler, I would assume it's a bit different, obviously, in terms of being seen versus a wrestling manager. So what advice would you have for those persons that want to do what you're doing in a major promotion?
Oh, well, I think my advice would be that they have to keep working on their craft every day. And that means keeping your mind open to learning from others, doing your research, research other managers that were famous before me. There was Sensational Sherry, and there was Bob Ean, and there was, a woman, also, Nancy Benoit. I still keep looking at other, managers just to get ideas and still study. And you have to sacrifice everything in everything you do in your day, whether it's to eat wrestling, sleep, wake up, you want to breathe it every day. Because if you're not fully 100% involved in your craft, then it's not going to gravitate to what you're going to do in the ring. And I think that's something that, when they try and compare me, it's taking years. I've been in it for 17 years. So this is something that I've worked on every day. And believe me, when I started in WWE, I was horrible. They gave me such great responsibility to do these promos, and, people like Edge and Teddy Long, they taught me so much inside the ring. There was camera work, and there was, angles, and Edge taught me how to be familiar with the ring in every aspect, to where whatever's going on, I know exactly how far I am from the ropes, or from, where the corner of the ring is. Where the cameraman is, and, which people are we going to, put our focus on, on the audience. So there's so many things that I didn't know. And by me opening up my mind and to be listening to others is how I got to, do what I do today.
That's so fascinating, because not a lot of people would know that or recognize that. So thank you for sharing. And one thing I want to ask is, of course, your famous catchphrase. You've stated you've been in this business for so long, and 2022, people, as soon as they see you, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, excuse me. So you talked in the past, I've read that catchphrase was a mistake. It wasn't something that was really planned. But now looking back and seeing how popular it still is, I mean, what are your thoughts about that? Is that something that you expect so many years down the line, people still shouting, excuse me, when they see you?
Excuse me came by a fluke in one of my promos on a live Raw TV. My promo, they used to be quite lengthy, maybe like a page or two. And so I would get my promo maybe like around 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and we go live at 7 or 8. So I would get ready, get dressed, and I would just focus on my promo, memorize everything, and kind of prepare. Well, that particular night, it changed about 5 or 6 times. Well, I was sitting in Gorilla before we went out, and they kept giving me these revisions, and it was to be a completely different promo. And I was in the wheelchair at the time because I was hurt, and Teddy Long was pushing me to the stage, for my for our appearance. And every time it changed, I think Teddy could just read my face, and I was just like devastated because it was something totally different. I wasn't prepared. And Teddy Long just kind of whispered in my ear. He goes, "You're going to mess this up tonight, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Tonight's going to be the night, Teddy. Like, this is going to be a good one for me." And sure enough, I had all these revisions in my mind when we went live. I didn't even know what even the bullet points were. I was so lost. And I went to the stage, said maybe the first 2 lines of the last revision, and I went blank. And the crowd is very smart. Our wrestling fans are incredibly intelligent when they know that something is wrong, and they guessed it. I mean, you can hear people in the front row just saying, "You forgot your lines, like you don't belong here." And I was like sweating and nervous, and I wanted to have Teddy just take me back, stage, and I just wanted to go home. And they were yelling and throwing fingers at me and just horrible gestures. And I was a heel. I mean, people hated me, so that was easy for them. And I just yelled, "Excuse me." And they roared back at me, and I said it again. And I just told Ted, I said, "Y'all are wasting my time. Take me back." And I got out of it, but nothing was produced from that, that whole segment, except that the writer said, "Hey, let's use excuse me again." And I just said, "It's not going to work." I go, it was a fluke. And every week we wrote in "excuse me," and that's how I started getting my entrance with the "excuse me." And 17 years later, I've trademarked it for sensory and sound, and it's mine now. So I'm pretty proud of how that progress has carried with me.
And look where we are now. I mean, as soon as you walk down that ramp, it's "excuse me," and everyone gets excited. But it's awesome. It's a part of wrestling lore and wrestling history, and not many people can say that. So
yeah, I get it everywhere. I mean, grocery stores. I'll be pumping my gas, or I'll be at the airport. And I'll get messages on my hotel room like, "Excuse me, we're happy you're here." And I get it. I get a kick out of it. So it's been a lot of fun to have that connected with me.
That is so cool. We have to get that at the end of this episode. A one loud "excuse me."
I will grant that for you, Candace. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. You mentioned earlier in this interview about the hope of doing more as a manager in AEW. And I have to bring up the women's division because we're starting to see a new era in the past several weeks, a new shift. We have some new faces. Well, not new to wrestling, obviously, but new to AEW, like Saraya, and we have Madison Rayne. What are your thoughts about how things are shifting with the women's division and how you would like to see yourself doing more? I mean, are there any of the other women that you personally would like to manage, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, we have incredible talent at AEW. The women that Tony Khan has hired they're a compliment, to the women's division. And of course, as me of who I am, I want to manage everybody. There's guys at AEW that manage, several people, even some of the women. And I want to be a part of that. But, there's incredible women like Toni Storm, who I think is incredible. There's, of course, Saraya, she's a legend in herself. But to have, Diamante is one that I think she's incredible. And Kieran, I think that everyone has their talents. Again, it's about talent and strength of what everyone has their special gifts. And when we can bring all that together in our division, it's an incredible visual of what AEW is about. And I wish we had more TV time. I wish we had more, content that the women could be shown every night, in different, capacities. But I think for right now, we have the talent. Our locker room is strong. And it's just now what we're going to do creatively. I think everyone is eager and hungry, to show what they have. And it's an exciting time. And in general, as far as the women's division in professional wrestling, we've come such a long ways. And, you have 20 years ago where, women were in bra and panty matches and, like pillow fights. And I saw the discouragement of women that would train all day and they would say they'd have a match and they would prepare and they were ready to, go for a match, and then their match would get cut. And it was heartbreaking because, being a woman, and seeing them, try and have their place in the industry, it was hard, to watch that. So to see how women are being featured more, in other promotions for main events and, having time and having 20, 30-minute matches is an incredible feat for the women. And I think it's an amazing time for women in the professional wrestling.
It surely is. And we can't wait to see how things progress, both in AEW and in wrestling overall when it comes to women's wrestling. So absolutely, I 1000% agree. Speaking of that and women's wrestling and just wrestling overall, to be quite honest, are there any talents that you specifically are watching that are up and coming, whether it's wrestlers and or managers?
Yeah, there's we work with a lot of independent wrestlers because, AEW offers them the opportunity to come and perform on Dark or sometimes our TV. As far as the men, there's Mike Magnum. He's on Twitter. He's the starving artist, and he's an incredible talent. And then as far as the women, there's like Alex Gracia and Kylan King, who I'm so proud of them because we worked together, 3 years ago in AEW, and they've grown so much. And so there's a lot of independent, wrestlers that are really putting their place in the industry. And I'm wishing them, a lot of encouragement that they get on, to promotion.
I love all those names that you mentioned, 1000%. Any managers up and coming that you have your eye on or that you're watching or know of rather?
There's a manager who is a good friend of mine who he's a celebrity hairstylist, and his name is Bradley Tugel, and he's just I watch him all the time, and it's hard not to watch him because he's always throwing his videos out on social media. But he's my friend, but he is actually a wrestling fan, and he gets the energy, he gets the entertainment portion of audiences. And I would hope that he would get signed from a promotion because I would love to banter with him. Even when we see each other, like at the hotels or he comes to the shows, we kind of banter, with each other. And I thought there's always going to be something fun there if we ever get the opportunity. But I see him, making quite the movement. And also another manager is Chris Silvio from NWA. He's a great friend of mine, and he helps me with a lot of brainstorming ideas. And he's incredibly talented with creative and as far as like putting together matches. So I would love to see him get, more famous than he is already.
I love everyone else that you've mentioned. Oh my gosh. They're going to be over the moon to get those people.
Bradley will know that his name's on social media and on the interview, so I'll hear from him. What's his name?
Exactly, ASAP. I love that. Really cool, really great names that you've put out there. One thing that I would love to ask, I was going to save this till the end, but you know what? I'm going to just throw this out there. So, Vickie, in your opinion, what's better? What's the better character to play, a face or a heel?
Oh, heel. Absolutely. Wait, WWE tried to put me as a baby, and I was so bored. I was so miserable because it takes a lot of work to make a crowd love you. And, as a heel, every woman has their evil side, to themselves. And you can't mess with a woman without bringing out, her bad side. And I love it. I can find a fan in the audience and find their smile. And then by the time I'm done, they will be so mad at me that I go home ready to go to sleep and have a peaceful night because, I got to get that man, that fan pissed off at me. So it's fun how to get the crowd to turn. And I always appreciate how the fans love to hate me. So it's a gracious gift from God that, he's allowed me to have that talent. And a heel is just, I love the heels. You can put me in any match and I will gravitate towards the heel. And even watching on TV, even in a Disney movie, I look for the villains. Like, I want to see what the villain's going to do because I'm on that side. I'm like, I don't care about the good guy.
It's so true. It's so fascinating. Everyone that I've interviewed and asked this question is the same thing. Everyone you love to hate the villain. And, you want the good guy to win, but still playing, if you're stepping inside a character, I don't think I've met one person yet that says, oh yeah, I would love to play the face. I want to be the good guy. No, everyone wants to be the bad guy. So there it is.
I would love to have a role like on a series or a murder series where I'm like the mistress that comes and like hunts down the wife. Like that would be such a cool role for me because I would live that 100%. Like, just give it to me. Give me the chance.
Oh my goodness. You sound like me. I mean, having said all of that, I have to get into now, TV and film. It sounds like that's definitely something you would love to immerse yourself in. That sounds like a dream role. Now, is there a dream actor or co-star that you would love to co-star with, whether it's television and or film?
Oh my gosh. My favorite actors are Julia Roberts. I love her films. As far as like on the other side, Matthew McConaughey would be someone that I would do a rom-com with. Okay. Hey, just give me in a movie. I don't care if I'm an extra. I don't care what it is. Like, I just want to get my foot in the door. I've taken acting classes and, wrestling, we're actors. I mean, we entertain, in all kinds of scenarios. So that's my next chapter in my life is to, have an opportunity to be in a movie or a sitcom or a series. So that's, I would love that. But yeah, those two would be a highlight of my day.
Oh, that would be so much fun. That would be great. And you're such a busy person, Vickie. You have wrestling going on, but you have a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration, from what I understand. Is that something you're still immersed in while you're away from AEW at all?
No, right now it's, I got my degree when I was leaving WWE in 2014. So I always wanted a plan B. I think it's important that as wrestlers that we have something else to fall back on. And during COVID, I was getting ready to go back into the medical industry because it was the perfect industry to be working in. But AEW was having me come in for guest appearances, so I didn't have to use it then. But yeah, I love having that degree, and I want to be an example to other women in the industry that education is really important. Or if you don't have an education, at least have a trade that you can fall back on, because just like with COVID, we all learned that everything can shut down in days. I mean, everything can be taken away. So I think it's just important that we have that plan B to have in life to have those instances, be ready for them.
Mm-hmm. That's very smart. And it's very true. Things can happen in an instant. You're right. We saw that transpire within the past 3 years. And now look at where everything is. It's really come full circle in very different ways in terms of the wrestling industry and seeing where things are landing. And what you're doing at AEW, we're so excited. We want to see you more. So we're repeating that out.
I want to see you more too.
We're like, we got to manifest this, Vickie. We got to see you out there.
Every morning I pray to God, please let me be on TV. Come on, let me do something.
Yes, I think it's going to come together. I think the stars are aligning and things are going to shift and it will come together. So we love you here, Vickie, at PWI, and thank you so much. My very last question for you really is, with everything in mind and seeing how everything has come advanced in your career, everything in your life, I mean, is there any other advice that you want to give to those watching that just want to enter this business, just want to do anything, whether it's managing, wrestling, booking, producing, being a promoter? What would you tell them?
Gosh, my advice would be that you have to be a fan first. You have to truly love what you're watching. A lot of people have the misconception that they see our name in lights and they see our fame and how popular we are, but it takes a lot of sacrifice. And I think a person has to be serious to take the time to invest in, these wrestling schools. If you find a good one, they're expensive, But if you're willing to put in that work and to work towards that school and to do the work and to hustle and to learn your craft and listen, I think a big thing is people have to really listen and open their hearts to what is needed for them to be good. That's the first step. But I think that if you, like I said, you have to just be watching videos and live and dream and sleep, and everything has to be wrestling for you to be totally invested. And if you have other things that distract you, like other careers, I think that a person has to find that one career, whether it's wrestling or whatever it is, and be good at that one thing. And as a wife of a wrestler and as a mom, you have to have your support system, and you have to have a good support system that's going to support you, because as a wrestling schedule, you miss holidays, you miss birthdays, you miss anniversaries. And, I work with incredibly gorgeous guys, and there's beautiful women. I think that I have a gracious husband who supports me, and he's not a wrestling fan, but he knows I love this business, and you have to have a support system that's going to support you 100%, and it's going to be there for you when the time is needed. So there's a lot of things that you just have to be in a good place and be ready to work. And that's something that's the first thing you got to do before you can even think about being in a major promotion.
Ready to work. That is my motivation for the rest of the day. And certainly just talking with you, Vickie Guerrero, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and a joy starting my morning off with you. And, we got to end this interview with that special catchphrase. So I'm going to let you take it away.
I think now I can say it because people are probably up around me because I'm in the hotel room. I think that's a good time right now. Excuse me!
There it is. I hope that woke everyone up, or rather, depending on what time of day. Either way, I know you're woken up right now. So in a very good way. But thank you so much, Vickie. Once again, it's an honor to meet you. I hope we can do this again. And good luck and congratulations. And we can't wait to see what else transpires for you at All Elite Wrestling.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being on here. Have a great day.
You as well. And thank you all for watching. Of course, continue to follow Vickie Guerrero at AEW and on her social media accounts as well. Until then, we will see you next time, and enjoy the wrestling.